Hello everyone. Hi. How is everyone today? Damn, that was early. Oh, well, mm, the ADHD is a fucking pain, but else I'm actually okay. Oh, all the ghosting I've been doing today. What the fuck do you mean? I do not ghost people. Oh. I haven't been playing that much today. Only for a few hours. That's not much. I never stretch. There's two times in a day where I stretch. That's when I wake up and when I go to sleep. That's the two times of day I stretch. Except if my girlfriend is here, of course. The new Sonic movie? Huh? Is there one more? Yeah, I haven't seen any of them. Haven't really been prioritized though. Ugh, I hate those people. I hate such things. If you know you're allergic or sneezes a lot, just don't go to the movies. Wait for it to just come out, or wait for another time. It's just annoying, to be honest. Mm. Mm. It was the Sonic movies. So they have released 3 movies in 4 years. Is that what you're saying to me? That's nuts. Thank you, Etling. Ooh, that was not what was supposed to happen. There we go. Interesting. So, what have you been up to for the last long time? Or since last Sunday? Have you been doing something nice? Oh, Christmas gifts or what? You suppose so? Nice. Yeah, I've just been a wreck for the last week. Got my exam task at Wednesday, and I haven't even started yet. Thank you, Earthling. It just feels, what to say, overwhelming, I suppose. For some reason, I have 5 cases, um, which I need to manage, but I only need one of them for the exam. Yeah, 5 cases. And then you like pick one at random. It just feels like, you know, kind of nuts to like do 5 cases and then just only need one of them. Mm. That's just in general not very motivating when you um, when you're neurodivergent, like to do 5 cases and then only need one. It feels like a waste of time, to be honest. But yeah, I can't do shit about it. Mm. So yeah, I just need to get it done, I suppose. Yeah, the question just is, when will I finish it? Because there's not enough pressure time wise um, for me to feel like I need to start it. That's kind of the issue. So I think I will probably start like 4 days before I need to have the control. But yeah, who knows? Can be pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I have 3 weeks to do these 5 tasks, and I will probably just start the second to get ready for the control, and then just be like, yeah. But I don't know. It feels like kind of like a normal thing in society that you just make a lot of things which is not necessary, which is just scrapped afterwards. Just like waste of it just feels like a waste of resources, to be honest. But it could just be me. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one having that feeling. So what are you gonna get, Earthling? chicken strips. Interesting. Hi V, hi, welcome in. I hope you have been good. Long time since I've seen you. Ooh. Now I want to know what album you sent. Hmm. Huh. I don't think I know this person. Huh. That's kind of interesting. What is it R&B stands for? I can't remember. Rhythm and blues. Hi Gus, welcome in. So the need for labor has been high, but they haven't given you any hours. Is that how I should understand it? Oh, Earthling, we all know that the US is fucked. That's no news. No news at all. Yeah, I feel sorry for you people over there having to deal with that. It's gonna be an interesting 4.25 year from now on. Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna try to find another song. Um, and you can tell me if it's the same. Yeah, then it was the song. Um, because of the it's very suspenseful. It's a very suspenseful track. Yeah. So it was going like very low, very high, very low, very high, like most of the time. Oh, no worries. I love when people tell me because I can't hear it. I have, I wouldn't have a clue if it was shit. So if there's anything which you see, hear, something, just tell me. Ooh. Gosh, have you been sniffing to yourself again? And I very much appreciate it, V. I really hope you're taking care of yourself. I'm at least trying. We can't do much more than that, right? But today we are gonna talk about hobbits and big spiders. So if anyone has like a phobia of it, I can't promise that there won't be a description of Shelob. I can't promise that. Ow. 2 seconds, people. For some reason, my toe began to hurt. fucking hell. People are shooting fireworks off near the buildings. So yeah, that's nice. Oh, and the police can't do shit because they can't prove who it was. So that's nice. Oh. But yeah, here we go.
I'm late. I'm late.
Oh my, hi. Woof woof. Funny sounds. What? Uh, was it only me? It was showing weirdly with the alert. It's Sunday, 20 minutes to 8 in the evening, and people are bluffing, doing a lot. Uh, there we do that, and we can do this. Oh my god. You don't have to tell me twice. Store, point shop. Uh, uh, where is it? Where is the bunny? Seasonal badge. Here. Yes! Bunny! No! Whew. It was like, oh, something went wrong. I have 38k points. Of course I have enough. It just came up with an error. Thank you, Mike. Oh my god. Well, it showed me an error, and then it said, oh, you already have it. And I already also have it. It makes no sense. Oh no. How do I get the cards for the window? Oh, and I probably have to buy things to get the cards from the winter sale. Oh, fair. Yeah, they're like €1.50 for all 10, but 14 cents for one. And to be honest, I just want one. There was one with a bunny. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Hi, Savage Show. Hi. Welcome in. And thank you for telling me where I met you because I can't remember. Wow, Earthling. Wow. Thank you, Show. If I can call you Show, of course. Nice. Okay. Um. So today we are gonna read about Shelob. So if people do not like spiders, yeah, I can't promise anything because the whole chapter will be like about spiders or more like one spider. Also webs and legs and more eyes than you would like. So yes, chapter 9, Thelop's lair. It may indeed have been daytime now, as Gollum said, but the hobbits could see little difference, unless, perhaps, the heavy sky above was less utterly black, more like a great roof of smoke, while instead of the darkness of deep night, which lingered still in the cracks and holes, a grey blurring shadow shrouded the stony world about them. Yeah. Darkly it loomed, and steadily it rose as they approached, until it towered up high above them, shutting out the view of all that lay beyond. Deep shadow lay before its feet. Sam sniffed the air. "Blech. That smell," he said. "It's getting stronger and stronger." Presently they were under the shadow, and there in the midst of it they saw the opening of a cave. "This is the way in," said Gollum softly. "This is the entrance to the tunnel." He did not speak of its name. Torre Ongul, Shelob's lair. Out of it came a stench, not the sickly odor of decay in the meats of Morgul, but a foul wreck, as if filth unnameable were piled and hoarded in the dark within. Is this the only way, Smeagol? Said Frodo. Yes, yes, he answered. Yes, we must go this way now. Do you mean to say you've been through this hole? Said Sam. Phew. But perhaps you don't mind bad smells. Gollum's eyes glinted. He doesn't know what we mind, does he, Precious? No, he doesn't. But Smeagol can bear things, yes. He's been through. Oh, yes, right through. It's the only way. And what makes the smell, I wonder, said Sam. It's like, well, I wouldn't like to say some beastly hole of the orcs, I'll warrant, with 100 years of their filth in it. Well, said Frodo, orcs or no, if it's the only way, we must take it. Drawing a deep breath, they passed inside. In a few steps, they were in utter and impenetrable dark. Not since the lightless passages of Moria had Frodo or Sam known such darkness, and if possible, here it was deeper and denser. There were airs moving, and echoes, and a sense of space. Here the air was still, stagnant, heavy, and sound felt dead. They walked as if it were in a black vapor draught of veritable darkness itself that, as it was breathed, brought blindness not only to eyes but to the mind, so that even the memory of colors and of forms of any light faded out of thought. Night always had been, and always would be, and night was all. But for a while they could still feel, and indeed the senses of their feet and fingers at first seemed sharpened almost painfully. The walls felt, to their surprise, smooth, and the floor, save for a step now and again, was straight, and even going ever up at the same stiff slope. The tunnel was high and wide, so wide that though the hobbits walked abreast, only touching the side walls with their outstretched hands, they were separated, cut off alone in the darkness. Gollum had gone in first, and seemed to be only a few steps ahead, while they were still able to give heed to such things. They could hear his breath hissing and gasping just in front of them. But after a time, their senses became duller. Both touch and hearing seemed to grow numb, and they kept on, groping, walking on and on, mainly by the force of the will with which they had entered, will to go through, and desire to come at last to the high gate beyond. Before they had gone very far, perhaps, but time and distance soon passed out of the reckoning. Sam on the right, feeling the wall, was aware that there was an opening at the side. For a moment he caught a faint breath of some air less heavy, and then they passed it by. Hi, Lothriel. Hi, welcome in. Nice to see you. There's more than one passage here, he whispered with an effort. It seemed hard to make his breath give any sound. It's as orc-like a place as ever there could be. After that, first he on the right, and then Frodo on the left, past 3 or 4 such openings, some wider, some smaller, but there was as yet no doubt of the main way, for it was straight, and did not turn, and still went steadily up. But how long was it? How much more of this would they have to endure? Or could they endure? The breathlessness of the air was growing as they climbed, and now they seemed often in the blind dark to sense some resistance thicker than the foul air. As they thrust forward, they felt things brush against their heads, or against their hands, long tentacles, or hanging growths perhaps. They could not tell what they were. And still the stench grew. It grew until almost it seemed to them that smell was the only clear sense left to them. And that was for their torment. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. How many had they passed in this lightless hole? Hours, days, weeks rather? Sam left the tunnel side and shrank towards Frodo, and their hands met a clasp, and so together they still went on. At length, Frodo, groping along the left-hand wall, came suddenly to a void. Almost he fell sideways into emptiness. Here was some opening in the rock far wider than any they had yet passed, and out of it came a reek so foul, and a sense of lurking malice so intense, that Frodo reeled. And at that moment Sam too lurched and fell forwards. Fighting off both the thickness and the fear, Frodo gripped Sam's hand. Up, he said in a hoarse breath, without voice. uh, it all comes from here, the stench and the peril. Now for it, quick! Calling up his remaining strength and resolution, he dragged Sam to his feet and forced his own little limbs to move. Sam stumbled beside him, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and at last 6 steps. Maybe they had passed the dreadful unseen opening. But whether that was so or not, suddenly it was easier to move, as if some hostile will for the moment had released them. They struggled on, still hand in hand, but almost at once they came to a new difficulty. The tunnel forked, or so it seemed, and in the dark they could not tell which was the wider way, or which kept nearer to the straight. Which should they take, the left or right? They knew of nothing to guide them. Yet a false choice would almost certainly be fatal. Which way has Gollum gone? Panted Sam. And why didn't he wait? Smeagol, said Frodo, trying to call. Smeagol! But his voice croaked, and the name fell dead almost as it left his lips. There was no answer, not an echo, not even a tremor of the air. He's really gone this time, I fancy, muttered Sam. I guess this is just exactly where he meant to bring us. Gollum, if ever I lay hands on you again, you'll be sorry for it. Presently groping and fumbling in the dark, they found that the opening on the left was blocked. Either it was blind, or else a great stone had fallen in the passage. This can't be the way, Frodo whispered. Right or wrong, we must take the other. And quick, Sam panted. There's something worse than Gollum about. I can feel something looking at us. They had not gone for more than a few yards when from behind them came a sound, startling and horrible in the heavy padded silence, a gurgling, bubbling noise, and a long venomous hiss. Hi, Andrew. Thank you. And I hope you have a cheerful holiday. And remember to take care of yourself. Okay? They wheeled round, but nothing could be seen. Still as stones they stood, staring, waiting for they did not know what. It's a trap, said Sam, and he laid his hand upon the hilt of his sword, and as he did so, he thought of the darkness of the barrel whence it came. I wish old Tom was near us now, he thought, but then, as he stood, darkness about him, uh, and the blackness of despair and anger in his heart, it seemed to him that he saw a light in his mind, almost unbearably bright at first, as a sun ray to the eyes of one long hidden in windowless pit. Then the light became color, green, gold, silver, white, far off, as in a little picture drawn by elven fingers. He saw the Lady Galadriel standing on the grass in Lorien, and gifts were in her hand. And you, ring-bearer, he heard her say, remote but clear, for you I have prepared this. The bubbling hiss drew nearer, and there was a creaking as of some sort jointed thing that moving with slow purpose in the dark. A reek came on before it. Master, master, cried Sam, and life and urgency came back into his voice. The lady's gift, the star glass. The star glass, muttered Frodo, as one answering out of sleep, hardly comprehending. Why, yes. Why had I forgotten it? A light when all other lights go out. And now indeed light alone can help us. Slowly his hand went to his bosom, and slowly he held aloft the vial of Galadriel. For a moment it glimmered, faint as a rising star, struggling in heavy earthward mists, and then, as its power waxed, and hope grew in Frodo's mind, it began to burn, and kindled to a silver flame, a minute hard of dazzling light, as though Erendil had himself come down from the high sunset paths with the last Silmaril upon. Okay, and then we have a break because there was an ad. I don't know if it's still there. Is it possible for someone to tell me? Tell me. Uh, uh. Mm. Here. Oh no. I am confused. Okay. It seems like we have a little bit of. Yeah, there we go. That we have a little bit of ads. Mm. Do, 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 do. Mm, 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 mm. Then I can get a chance of just having a drink so my voice doesn't die. Oh. And we are soon done. Dun 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 dun.
Parking overnight on the street.
Boop, 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 boop. Woohoo! We're back! Ah! We got through the attack of ads. Eh. Horrible ads. Eh. Okay. Where did we come from? The darkness receded from it until it seemed to shine in the center of a globe of airy crystal, and the hand that held it sparkled with white fire. Frodo gazed in wonder at this marvelous gift that he had so long carried, not guessing its full worth and potency. Seldom had he remembered it on the road, until they came to Morgul Vale, and never had he used it for fear of its revealing light. Aya Erendil, Elion, and Kalimar, he cried, and knew not what he had spoken, for it seemed that another voice spoke through his clear through uh, through his clear, untroubled by the foul air of the pit. But other potencies there are in Middle-earth, powers of night, and they are old and strong. And she that walked in the darkness had heard of had heard the elves cry the cry far back in the deep of times, and she had not heeded it, and it did not daunt her now, even as Frodo spoke, as he felt a great malice bent upon him, and a deadly regard considering him. Not far down the tunnel, between them and the opening where they had reeled and stumbled, he was aware of eyes growing visible through great clusters of many windowed eyes. Hi, Leo. Hi. Welcome in. Yeah, it's all good. I hate people. I hope you guys cannot hear the fireworks going on outside. Yeah, I hate the people which are using fireworks. Um, and they do that like every year because of the people starting to sell like mid-month. Um, but for from the laws aspect, you can't use it before this 31st of December. But they have been going since the start of the month. So yeah. But it's wrong to say I hate people. I hate stupid. I do not hate people. Yeah, since the start of the month. They began to sell it at the 15th of December. Um, but people also had something from last year. So they just used that. Yeah, it's way too early. Um, but yeah, again, it's wrong to say that I hate people. I just hate stupid. And of course, it's those which um, are the most like showing in the daily aspect of life. No, it's only dangerous if you use fireworks which have been um, modified in some kind of way uh, by non-professionals. So like if you take multiple fireworks and put together in one, um, or if you like if it has been standing in like a very like moist place or a very dry place, it can a lot of conditions can modify the firework to make it more dangerous. So yeah, we will see. Oh yeah, how many thank you, Leo. Thank you. Oh, we are only 14 followers from a goal of 500. Eh. Yeah, that's fine, Leo. Go do your thing. Okay, and back to the book. The radiance of the star glass was broken and thrown back from the thousand facets. But behind the glitter, a pale, deadly fire began steadily to glow within. A flame kindled in some deep pit of evil thought. Monstrous and abdominal eyes they were, bestial and yet filled with purpose, and with hideous delight, gloating over their prey, trapped beyond all hope of escape. Frodo and Sam, horror stricken, began slowly to back away, their own gaze held by the dreadful stare of those baleful eyes. But as they backed, so the eyes advanced. Frodo's hand wavered, and slowly the vial drooped, then suddenly released from the holding spell to run a little while in vain panic for the amusement of the eyes. They both turned and fled together, but even as they ran, Frodo looked back and saw with terror that at once the eyes came leaping up behind. The stench of death was like a cloud about him. Stand, stand, he cried desperately. Running is no use. Slowly the eyes crept nearer. Galadriel, he called, and gathering his courage, he lifted up the vial once more. The eyes halted. For a moment their regard relaxed, as if some hint of doubt troubled them. Then Frodo's heart flamed within him, and without thinking what he did, whether it was folly or despair or courage, he took the vial in his left hand, and with his right hand drew his sword. Sting flashed out, and his sharp elven blade sparkled in the silver light. But at its edges a blue fire flickered, then holding the star aloft, and the bright sword advanced. Frodo, hobbit of the Shire, walked steadily down to meet the eyes. They wavered. Doubt came into them as the light approached. One by one they dimmed, and slowly they drew back. No brightness so deadly had ever afflicted them before. From sun and moon and star they had been safe on the ground, but now a star had descended into the very earth. Still it approached, and the eyes began to quail. One by one they all went dark. They turned away, and a great bulk beyond the light's reach heaved its huge shadow in between. They were gone. Master, master, cried Sam. He was close behind, his own sword drawn and ready. Stars and glory, but the elves would make a song of that, if ever they heard of it. And may I live to tell them and hear them sing. But don't go on, master. Don't go down that den. Now our only chance. Now let's get out of this foul hole. And so back they turned once more, first walking and then running. For as they went, the floor of the tunnel rose steeply, and with every stride they climbed higher above the stenches of the unseen lair, and strength returned to limb and heart, but still the hatred of the watcher lurked behind them, blind for a while, perhaps, but undefeated, still bent, still bent on death. And now there came a flow of air to meet them, cold and thin. The opening, the tunnel's end, at last it was before them, painting, panting, yearning for a roofless place. They flung themselves forward, and then in amazement they staggered, tumbling back. The outlet was blocked with some barrier, but not of stone. Soft and a little yielding it seemed, and yet strong and impervious. Air filtered through, but not a glimmer of any light. Once more they charged and were hurled back. Holding aloft the vial, Frodo looked, and before him he saw a greyness which the radiance of the starglass did not pierce and did not illuminate, as if it were a shadow that being cast by no light could create dissipate. No light could dissipate. Across the width and height of the tunnel, a vast web was spun, orderly as the web of some huge spider, but denser woven and far greater, and each thread was as thick as a rope. Sam laughed grimly. Cobwebs, he said. Is that all? Cobwebs? But what a spider! Have at him! Down with him! In a fury he hewed at them with his sword, but the thread that he struck did not break. It gave a little and then sprang back like a plucked bowstring, turning the blade and tossing up both sword and arm. 3 times Sam struck with all his force, and at last one single cord of all the countless cords snapped and twisted, curling and whipping through the air. One end of it lashed Sam's hand, and he cried out in pain. Starting back and drawing his hand across his mouth, it will take days to clear the road like this, he said. What's to be done? Have those eyes come back? No, not to be seen, said Frodo, but I still feel that they are looking at me, or thinking about me, making some other plan, perhaps. If this light were lowered, or if it failed, they would quickly come again. Trapped in the end, said Sam bitterly, his anger rising above weariness and despair. Gnats in a net. May the curse of Faramir bite that Gollum and bite him quick. That would not help us now, said Frodo. Come, let us see what Sting can do. It's an elven blade. There were webs of horror in the dark ravines of Beleriand, where it was forged. But you must be the guard and hold back the eyes. Here, take the starglass. Do not be afraid. Hold it up and watch. Oh, that's sad, Earthling. Did you forget to recharge your headset? Oh. Well, wait. There. Okay. Then Frodo stepped up to the great grey net and hewed it with a wide sweeping stroke, drawing the bitter edge swiftly across the ladder of close-strung cords, and at once springing away. The blue gleaming blade shore through them like a scythe through grass. Uh, and they leaped and writhed, and then hung loose. A great rent was made, stroke after stroke he dealt, until at last all the web within his reach was shattered, and the upper portion blew and swayed like a loose veil in the incoming wind. The trap was broken. Come, cried Frodo, on, on! Wild joy at their escape from the very mouth of despair suddenly filled all his mind. His head whirled as with a draught of potent wine. He sprang out, shouting as he came. That's kind of nasty. It seemed light in the dark land to his eyes that had passed through the den of night. The great smokes had risen and grown thinner, and the last hours of a sombre day were passing. The red glare of Mordor had died away in sullen gloom. Yet it seemed to Frodo that he looked upon a morning of sudden hope. Almost he had reached the summit of the wall, only a little higher now. The cleft, Cirith Ungol, was before him, a dim notch in the black ridge, and the haunts of rock darkling in the sky on either side. A short race, a sprinter's course, and he would be through. The pass, Sam, he cried, not heeding the shrillness of his voice, that released from the choking airs of the tunnel rang out now high and wild. The pass! Run, run, and we'll be through before anyone can stop us. Sam came up behind as fast as he could. He could urge his legs, but glad as he was to be free, he was uneasy, and as he ran, he kept on glancing back at the dark arch of the tunnel, fearing to see eyes or some shape beyond his imagining spring out in pursuit. Too little did he or his master know of the craft of Shelob. She had many exits from her lair. There age long she had dwelt, an evil thing in spider form, even such as once of old had lived in the land of the elves in the west that is now under the sea. Such as Beren fought in the mountains of terror in Doriath, and so came to Luthien upon the green sword amid the hemlocks in the moonlight long ago. How Shelob came there, flying from ruin, no tale tells, for out of the dark years few tales have come, but still she was there. Who was there before Sauron, and before the first stone of Barad-dûr? And she served none but herself, drinking the blood of elves and men, bloated and grown fat with endless brooding on her feasts, weaving webs of shadow, for all living things were her food, and her vomit darkness. Far and wide her lesser broods bastards of the miserable maids, her own offspring that she slew, spread from glen to glen, from the Eiffel Duath to the eastern hills to Dol Guldur and the fastnesses of Mirkwood, but none could rival her, Shelob the Great, last child of Ungoliant, to trouble the unhappy world. Already years before, Gollum had beheld her, Smeagol who pried into all dark holes, and in past days he had bowed and worshipped her, and the darkness of her evil will walked through all the ways of his weariness beside him, cutting him off from the light and from regret, and he had promised to bring her food. But her lust was not his lust. Little she knew of or cared for towers or rings, or anything devised by mind or hand, who only desired death for all others, mind and body, and for herself a glut of life, alone, swollen till the mountains could no longer hold her up, and the darkness could not contain her. But that desire was yet far away, and long now had she been hungry, lurking in her den, while the power of Sauron grew, and the light and living things forsook his borders, and the city in the valley of death, and the city in the valley was dead, and no elf or man came near, only the unhappy orcs, poor food and weary. But she must eat, and however busily they dealt new winding pages from the past and from the tower, ever she found some way to snare them, but she lusted for sweeter meat, and Gollum had brought it to her. We'll see, we'll see, he said often to himself, when the evil mood was on him, as he walked the dangerous road from Immelmule to Morgul Vale. We will see. It may be well, oh yes, it may well be that when she throws away the bones and the empty garments, we shall find it. We shall get it, the precious. A reward for poor Smeagol, who brings nice food. And we'll save the precious, as we promised. Oh yes. And when we got it safe, then she'll know it. Oh yes. And when we have got it safe, then she'll know it. Oh yes. Then we'll pay her back, my precious. Then we'll pay everyone back. So he thought in an inner chamber of his cunning, which he still hoped to hide from her, even when he had come to her again and had bowed low before her while his companion slept. And as for Sauron, he knew where she lurked. It pleased him that she should dwell there hungry but unabated in malice, and more sure watch upon that ancient path into his land than than any other that his skill could have devised. And orcs, they were useful slaves, but he had them in plenty. If now and again Shelob caught them to stay her appetite, she was welcome. He could spare them. And sometimes, as a man may cast a dainty to his cat he calls her, but she owns him not. Sauron would send her prisoners that he had no better uses for. He would have them driven to her hole and report brought back to him of the play she made. So they both lived, delighting, delighting in their own devices, and feared no assault, nor wrath, nor any end of their wickedness. Never yet had any fly escaped from Shelof's webs, and the greater now was her rage and hunger. But nothing of this evil which they had stirred up against them did poor Sam know, except that a fear was growing on him, a menace which he could not see, and such a weight did it become that it was a burden to him to run, and his feet seemed leaden. Dread was around him, and enemies before him in the pass, and his master in a fey mood, running heedlessly to meet them, turning his eyes away from the shadow behind and the deep gloom beneath the cliff upon his left. He looked ahead and he saw two things that increased his dismay. He saw that the sword which Frodo still held unsheathed was glittering with blue flame, and he saw that though the sky behind was now dark, still the window in the tower was glowing red. Orcs, he muttered, we'll never rush it like this. There's orcs about, and worse than orcs. Then returning quickly to his long habit of secrecy, he closed his hand about the precious vial, which he still bore, red with his own living blood in his hand, shone it for a moment, and then he thrust the revealing light deep into a pocket near his breast, and drew his elven cloak about him. Now he tried to quicken his pace. His master was gaining on him. Already he was some 20 strides ahead. Flitting on like a shadow, soon he would be lost to sight in that grey world. Hardly had Sam hidden the light of the starglass when she came. A little way ahead, and a little to his left, he saw suddenly issuing from the black hole of shadow under the cliff the most loathly shape that he had ever beheld, horrible beyond the horror of an evil dream. Most like a spider she was, but huger than the great hunting beasts, and more terrible than they, because of the evil purpose in her remorseless eyes. Those same eyes that he had thought daunted and defeated, there they were lit with a fell light again, clustering in her outthrust head. Great horns she had, and behind her short stalk-like neck was a huge swollen body, and a vast bloated back swaying and sagging between her legs. Its great bulk was black, blotched with livid marks, but the belly underneath was pale and luminous and gave forth a stench. Her legs were bent, with great knobbed joints high above her back, and hairs that stuck out like steel spines. And at each leg's end there was a claw. As soon as she had squeezed her soft, squelching body and his folded limbs out of the upper exit from her lair, she moved with a horrible speed, now running on her creaking legs, now making a sudden bound. She was between Sam and his master. Either she did not see Sam, or she avoided him for the moment as the bearer of the light, and fixed all of her intent upon one prey, upon Frodo, bereft of his vial, running heedless up the path, Unaware yet of his peril, swiftly he ran, but Shelob was swifter. In a few leaps she would have him. Sam gasped and gathered all his remaining breath to shout. "Look out behind!" he yelled. "Look out, master! I'm—" But suddenly his cry was stifled. A long, clammy hand went over his mouth, and another caught him by the neck, while something wrapped itself about his leg. Taking off guard, he stumbled backwards into the arms of his attacker. "Got him!" hissed Gollum in his ears. "At last, my precious, we got him. Yes, the nasty hobbit. We takes this one. He'll get the other. Yes, Shelob would get him, not Smeagol. He promised he won't hurt Master at all. But he got you, you nasty, filthy little sneak." He spat on Sam's neck, fury at the treachery, and desperation at the delay when his master was in deadly peril, gave to Sam a sudden violence and strength that was far beyond anything that Gollum had expected from this slow, stupid hobbit. As he thought him, not Gollum himself could have twisted more quickly or more fiercely. His hold on Sam's mouth slipped, and Sam ducked and lunged forward again, trying to tear away from the grip of his neck. His sword was still in his hand, and as his left arm, hanging by its thong, was Faramir's staff. Desperately he tried to turn and stab his enemy, but Gollum was too quick. His long right arm shot out, and he grabbed Sam's wrist. His fingers were like a vice. Slowly and relentlessly he bent the hand down and forward, till a cry of pain, Sam released the sword, and it fell to the ground, and all the while Gollum's other hand was tightening on Sam's throat. Then Sam played his last little trick. With all his strength, he pulled away and got his feet firmly planted. Then suddenly he drove his legs against the ground, and with his whole force he hurled himself backwards. Not expecting even this simple trick from Sam, Gollum fell over with Sam on top, and he received the weight of the sturdy hobbit in his stomach. A sharp hiss came out of him, and for a second his hand upon Sam's throat loosened, but his fingers still gripped on the sword hand. Sam tore himself forward and away, and stood up, and then quickly he wheeled away to his right, pivoted on the wrist held by Gollum. Laying hold of the staff with his left hand, Sam swung it up, and down it came with a whistling crack on Gollum's outstretched arm, just below the elbow. With a squeal, Gollum let go. Then Sam waded in, not waiting for to change the staff from left to right. He dealt another savage blow. Quick as a snake, Gollum slithered aside, and the stroke aimed at his head fell across his back. The staff cracked and broke. That was enough for him. Grabbing from behind was an old game of his, and seldom had he failed in it. But this time, misled by spite, he had made the mistake of speaking and gloating before he had both hands on his victim's neck. Everything had gone wrong with his beautiful plan since that horrible light had so unexpectedly appeared in the darkness, and now he was face to face with a furious enemy, little less than his own size. This fight was not for him. Sam swept up his sword from the ground and raised it. Gollum squealed, and springing aside onto all fours, he jumped away in one big bound like a frog. Before Sam could reach him, he was off, running with amazing speed back towards the tunnel. Sword in hand, Sam went after him. For the moment he had forgotten everything else, but the red fury in his brain and the desire to kill Gollum. But before he could overtake him, Gollum was gone. Then as the dark hole stood before him and the stench came out to meet him, like a clap of thunder, the thought of Frodo and the monster smote upon Sam's mind. He spun round and rushed wildly up the path, calling and calling his master's name. He was too late. So far, Gollum's plot had succeeded. Eh. Yes. So that was the last of today's stream. We are gonna go and find someone to raid. Um, oh. You too, Sika. Have a lovely, lovely holiday. Or I hope you have a lovely holiday. And I think we will go. I think we'll go here. This person seems nice. Can I get the raid messages from one of my mods? If there's any left, of course. Well, I guess none of them are here. So, grab your raid message, everyone. And then I am gonna see you next Sunday, which will be the 29th of December, which will also be the last chapter of the second book. But I hope you all will have a lovely holiday in the way you see fit. And then I just hope to see you next time. Bye bye.